Welcome to the Real Dad Podcast. I'm Dave, and for a brief moment in time, I was my high school mascot.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, I was going to say, also 0 people are surprised right now.
Yeah. That's true.
I am Joey, tickling your eardrums. I tried a cigarette for the first time when I was 4 and didn't have one again. So it worked to not smoke again.
What? How?
That's a sister's boyfriend when you live out in the country, friend. I asked him if I could try it, and he was like, yeah, sure.
You
Gave me the
remember
cigarette.
this happening?
I do. I remember looking up at him.
Did you
and thinking,
inhale?
That's weird. Yeah. And then I remember coughing so long. And then I think I puked outside in a bush.
How hard would you punch your daughter's boyfriend if you walked out? Like if you McDougal'd that situation?
Yeah. And you came out and that was happening. But for what it's worth, I never had any inclination to try a cigarette in my life from that point.
Still not giving
Because
him
it was like,
credit
that's
for
gross.
that.
Still never give a kid a cigarette. This is not the message of the story. Don't get it twisted here.
Can we start this
taking people's
episode
words
over
and running
again?
with
I don't
Just
think these
carry
twofers are a good idea.
One twofer. Anyway, it's about fun facts and then carrying on.
Not getting stuck on the fun facts. Let's not.
My name's Mark, and my son has a weird pee hole.
You've used that one before.
No, I haven't.
We've talked about it.
I haven't talked about it on. He doesn't know.
I'm Brian, and
This is gonna be a train wreck. Not your
right
fun
before
fact.
my fun fact.
Not your fun fact. Not your fun fact. I should have said eggs. Can I do my fun fact over again?
No, we'll circle back to the eggs.
Oh man,
Let's just get into eggs,
all
all
right,
right?
man.
Let's just get into
No,
eggs.
say your fun fact. It's not
really
the
don't
Mark show.
If I'm gonna be honest.
How's that third nipple you got, or what is it?
Third nipple.
Forever pimple.
I was high school prom king. That's a
No way! No way!
Brian, you just have these beautiful Easter eggs that you think are nothing.
Are you kidding me?
doesn't matter.
No, what do you mean? That's huge.
Oh my God.
That's a nickname that you hold on to forever. Royalty. Put that shit on your resume. Are you fucking kidding me?
Doesn't matter.
This whole time we could have called him Prom King.
That is
That's
the
a nickname.
most Brian thing in the world
Wow.
to just say
To
that
be
that's
fair,
nothing.
Just
No,
nonchalant.
and now he's gonna make something up to like downgrade it.
Yeah.
You won
We have
Prom King?
royalty,
Absolutely
absolute
right.
royalty
Do you
this
know
whole
how
time.
many friends you have to have? How nice you have to be to everybody for the 4 worst years of your life
They were 4
to
great
win
years.
prom
I
king?
love great time. I loved high school.
Wow.
That hit
I
you guys
absolutely was gonna
pretty
say
hard.
it was kind of elevated because it was who I was in a relationship with. She kind of helped my cause, but
But you were in a relationship with a really hot chick then.
everybody just liked her. Everybody, well, I don't know. I got along with a lot of people.
Goodness.
That's the
I was
perfect
friends
prom
with-
king right there.
Friends with everyone.
What are the things in your life that you think are great then? Because if you think that's like nothing,
It didn't really matter. It was
You know that happens to no one, right? I've literally never.
did you not
Never
celebrate
met.
the moment? You thought it was nothing.
No, I was more embarrassed.
Yeah.
To be honest,
my
Accepted it with humility.
I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Fucking what? I don't even know if I can dad after that.
I would rather just talk about eggs, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
How? He's changed all of his nicknames to the Prom King.
The prom.
The king, yeah. In my phone, it's changing.
I'm going to
Prom
change.
wasn't really a big deal for me. I don't know. Was it a big deal for you guys?
No, but if I was a prom king, you would all know it.
Oh no!
I would make a T-shirt, and I'm almost 40. I'd still be wearing that fucking. I would make a new one every year.
It would still be his
my whole
Facebook
life.
profile picture.
My son's name would be Prom King. You would know it.
Future prom king.
I would have crowns tattooed all over my body.
Head to toe.
Are you kidding me? I might have a crown for every vote I got.
I'm gonna go around and tell all of our clients this now.
Have to.
So we're Brola's Construction. We do beautiful renovations. We've got this guy Brian who works with us.
fucking won
He's
the
a prom
prom
king.
king.
No big deal.
No
apparently.
big deal.
Home of the prom king.
How long have you?
I
how
hate
long?
that so much.
How long have you known these guys?
Almost a decade.
Almost a decade. He didn't tell you. That's
Yeah.
borderline
It
offensive.
didn't seem.
It didn't come up naturally in conversation the way it has here.
I can't even fight. He wants to talk about eggs. I know I'm going to disagree, but I can't. I can't fight with him now.
We put him on the spot to come up with something, and he just keeps delivering these beautiful, sweet nuggets for us.
I
Forever
wasn't gonna.
pimples.
I was never gonna share that information, but I just couldn't think of anything. So
That's
You were
That's
you were like the
fantastic.
lead singer of a screamo band. You do.
yeah, not a good one. It was fun though.
Right.
I don't know how to follow that up.
Thanks, Home Hardware and Regal. That's it.
Could you imagine we did that? That'd be fantastic.
Imagine we've done it before. They pay us and we forget about them all the time.
All of the time. Every episode.
Almost.
Dare to say.
Just about.
should
What the hell are we
jump.
going to talk about now?
All right, I
no,
got,
shut up.
I got
Hold
a
on, we
little
got-
something.
We got to
gotta
talk about eggs first.
Eggs, okay. So last week was about toast. Now we're talking about eggs. How do you like your eggs?
Yellow. No, my gripe is with Costco. All right, we buy
Okay.
we buy the big platters of eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've just been getting worse and worse. I swear
What
the
makes
last
for a
time
bad egg?
I opened the egg and it was like the yolk was almost white.
Yep.
I was like, what is this?
Wait,
Weak ass yolk.
The
I don't
yolk's-
think I've ever seen that before.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just
It was
not
gross.
a rich
So it's just
yellow.
all white?
Yeah, the yolk was almost, it was like very pale yellow.
Oh.
It was like, did not look very good.
So, what stage of the infancy is that?
I don't know. I don't know what they're feeding these chickens these days, but it's not good.
We have eggs on Sundays,
Don't like it.
and my daughter wanted to help me crack the egg. And
Okay.
she got some of the thing on. She's like, "What is it?" I was like, "It's just a baby chicken." And the
fucked up.
anger.
Yeah.
The anger in my wife's eyes. I think I've dreamt about it every night since yesterday.
So we need a farm fresh hookup.
Yeah.
We have a lot of them, but still, it doesn't help.
The farm ones are almost like a
like a-
blood red orange
Yeah,
almost.
it's like a sunset.
That's
the
great.
yolk, it's-
Give me that deep orange egg.
Get that yolk in.
It fucks with. I eat my eggs scrambled, and it fucks with it because it looks like you put ketchup in there, and it's.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't put ketchup on your eggs?
How
No,
do you
of
like them
course you can.
scrambled? What is your level of scramble?
No one makes a better scrambled egg than I do.
Oh wow, that's
I say that about my fun fact.
okay.
But
I'll have a
not
cook-off
the
right now.
Gordon Ramsay scrambled.
No, where
Gordon
it's
Ramsay
still
did-
like runny.
Can't even hold a candle to my scrambled eggs.
My brother Luke surprises me every time he
I don't
makes
give a
breakfast.
fuck. He's not making a better scrambled egg than I am. I'll tell you right now. Okay?
Sorry.
So this wasn't an open
you, bro,
invitation
but-
for me. Like I'm not throwing out
Sorry.
challenges here.
Okay,
It's
my bad.
It's
literally-
over and done. Apparently, yep, that's it. I'll be there on
a
Sunday.
little bit of
Creme fraiche.
no.
Yep.
I don't even know what that is.
That's what you're supposed to put in scrambled eggs.
It's not
Nobody
supposed
does,
to.
but-
There's no biblical prophecy about how to make scrambled eggs.
It's creme fraiche, man.
What's a creme fraiche?
That's a type of like milk, like dairy.
I'm not putting dairy in my. I put a little bit of cheese in there. Listen,
It doesn't count though. That cheese ain't milk. You're crazy.
eggs are dairy though.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Oh God. Okay. You write this
no,
episode.
they're protein. They're in the meat category.
Cheese is dairy.
I learned
get this
that
straight.
eggs weren't dairy from this podcast. We had
Like
this
right now.
no, like when it
We
was
did have
called
this discussion. I do
it was
remember that.
called Breakfast with the Bro-Laws.
Yeah, we had
And
this
I used
discussion.
to, I would fight until I had to Google that eggs
remember
weren't
that.
dairy.
Yeah. I do remember that because you were like, they're a breakfast food. And I was like, a cereal dairy? Yeah. You're like, well, you put milk on it.
And then open my eyes. A little bit of coconut oil.
Okay.
You melt that.
Interesting.
Then you scramble up the eggs.
Yep.
We take 10 eggs to feed our family of 4.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And then I put that in a low pot, and then I grade
It's cooking.
marble cheese on top of it.
Hell no.
I put that on after.
Marble cheese in it while it's like liquid. And then it's a constant swoosh. You can't stop swooshing.
Yeah.
Always
And then
That's a
that
fact.
brings out the fluffs.
You don't want it to brown.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Then you have to be careful because the edges flake a little
Yeah,
bit,
you
and
don't
you
want
can't
that.
get them flakies in there.
That's the
You gotta
movement.
go
The wrong
through.
texture.
Yep.
You move it into the middle, and then you scrape out all the flakies and get those out of there.
Okay. Sounds like a good system. I would love to
digging
have
your
breakfast
process.
with you, Mark.
Yep.
It's a great.
Could
one.
use some creme fraiche, but
I don't know if I've had creme fraiche.
I could
eggs.
eat eggs like
Nobody
any
gets
time
creme
of
fraiche.
day, like for any meal. I don't get sick of it.
oh, I love.
So like
eggs,
if I'm
yeah.
home working from home, like often for lunch, I'll make myself eggs, egg sandwich, egg toast, like anything.
go
Yep,
to.
same.
So then when we were away with our family, my brother made breakfast and we were eating, he made these scrambled eggs that were delicious. And my wife was like, if you made eggs like this, I would eat them all the time too. And I was like, oh, damn, shots fired. But yeah, my brother put I think he put a little garlic in it and some different like spices and stuff.
Spice
and it
it
made
up.
it like very flavorful. It was delicious. But
to go,
eggs are
Lucky.
like my specialty at our house where our kids like daddy's eggs.
Yeah. same.
So it's like my thing, and then my daughter now likes like an egg sandwich, so like with toast and the egg and cheese, and make a little sandwich. And I was gone one day, and my wife made it for her, and I put ketchup on it, and then she didn't when she made it for my daughter, and she was like, "Oh, mommy, you didn't make it like daddy." Like and it was one of those first moments where it was like, "Yes, daddy has a better way."
Do you have any of those like things that you do better than your wife?
Not many.
Yeah, I'm
She's
gonna
pretty
say
great.
none. My kids don't like what I make them unless I make it for myself, and then they just eat
Then
my
we eat, yeah.
food. That's how it rolls.
I
at my
have a
house.
special ability to know when like grilled cheese and pancakes need to be flipped, like a sixth sense.
Really?
I think we talked about this before, where somebody was saying like, I think it was you who were saying when Meg would boil
His name's Joey.
yeah, where
Yeah,
Meg
that's
would
me.
boil the craft dinner. And you would ask how much time, and
yes.
she would just be like, "No, it's just a feel."
Yeah, it's a
Where it's
sound.
like, it's like there's just like knowing when a grilled cheese needs to be flipped, and you flip it, and it's golden. It's like that perfect timing.
You're saying
It's
you
like a
don't need
little
to peek?
sixth sense. No, sometimes I don't need to peek. It's just a sense. You
Grilled
flip it,
cheese.
and you know.
You can't go on your phone while you're
No,
cooking
that's
grilled
a
cheese.
Jesus
Yeah,
name.
exactly. You got to stay dialed
You
into
do.
the process.
You do have to. You
Same
can't.
with-
You can't
Same
go
with
away.
scrambled.
Yeah, scrambled eggs is another one. The cereal topic from last week. That's another one. You can't. You can't.
I'm
take away
a
from it.
toaster oven for my grilled cheese, boys.
Yeah,
I throw it on broil. That way you see what's cooking. I just sit there and stare at it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't even
nice
know
to
you.
watch.
I get it
You're
perfect
slowing
every
down
time.
life.
I
Sounds
am.
peaceful.
It is a lot slower than the pan, the traditional pan method. But you know what? It works every time.
Sounds like I'd cause a fire. Put too much cheese on there. It oozing out of there.
Nah, it's all right.
That's a problem.
Tinfoil. We're good.
We should start a
good
food
grilled
podcast,
cheese.
guys. I'm hungry.
Grilled cheese is so good. Like gourmet grilled cheese.
This is how you
Garlic.
know 4 white guys are sitting in a podcast booth talking about grilled cheese. Like,
And scrambled eggs.
yeah,
I might make a grilled cheese when I get home.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Totally.
It's a fact. It's happening.
Yeah.
Do your kids?
Well,
It's grilled cheese time.
Okay with it. That's the best part. Just end it here. We're like, it's good. We've given the people what they need. A couple of deep belly laughs and some confusion. That's good. We've thanked the pot. Fuck.
Sponsors. There it is.
barely.
What the hell was I gonna say?
Something about your son, I think.
No, do your kids, are they crust on or crust off?
Crust off. And I fucking hate it.
I would
Do you?
never. I would
can't.
never cut the crust off.
so
for
I don't
not
cut
surprised.
it off for them.
we don't cut the. We don't.
You're the fucking prom king. You don't need to cut the crust off anybody's. Sandwiches, are you kidding
Are
me?
you asking the prom king to cut off your crust?
You peasants. Eat to the crust.
You've never used that
I
in a
hate
marriage.
this so much.
Like, in a marriage, you've never used that in a fight or anything.
Does
Like,
Maddie know?
Yeah, she does not like that, I don't think.
She is not a fan.
She's
has
not a
so
big
many
fan of
regrets.
any success of mine.
Never role played that one out. Come on now.
Oh man, that's
king is here.
So
funny.
before I came to the podcast, my kids were outside playing with the neighbor friends.
Oh, like tonight.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
In
So
the dark?
they-
Wait, do we like these names?
I almost ran over
Yeah,
your
they're great
daughters
kids.
one time. When
You did. They're just
your kids are just out in the dark running around in the
these many
streets.
secrets.
I pull up into the driveway and Dave's like, hey, your kids are just running around in the dark.
They're fine.
they were coming home from the neighbors. But anyways,
Jesus.
so they were out playing, and our conversation last week about like how kids are more emotionally connected and they know their emotions. But are
Not
we
the
too,
real last week, the one we just recorded.
Yeah.
Okay. I was confused.
Yeah. No,
Like last week.
I was trying to play it as if we're not recording these both on the same day, but cool. Whatever.
Secrets out.
Anyways, but are we sometimes too soft on kids with
Always.
rules and stuff like
Right.
that? So they're playing this game outside. I don't know what they're playing. We're just happy they're outside and having a good time. There's a lot of yelling, chasing, maybe some version of tag that they have created because
Some
it wasn't
Gen Z
just like
version.
regular tag. There was like, there were zombies or something. I don't know what was going on. But our house has a gate into the backyard, and there isn't a gate on the other side. I think I'm going to have to put one because they were hopping the fence to go over to avoid getting tagged and stuff. And then at one point, my son came running through the house to avoid them. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And my wife and I are sitting there, we're looking at each other like, what the heck? Like, there's no boundaries. I'm like, he thinks that getting tagged is worse than running through the house with your shoes on. And he doesn't fear
Yep.
consequence
He
from
takes the
running
game
through
seriously.
the house with the shoe. He worried more about
Yeah,
being
but did
tagged.
he win the game?
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm like, he's
'Cause
not
that-
worried
you're-
about
you're
getting
raising
smacked
winners.
upside the head. And Joy's like, well, have you ever smacked him upside the head? And I was like, well, that's a good point. I think I need to start. But like, it was just as if like that would have never been a thought to me.
Oh, you would
Oh,
get
no.
a
That
wasn't
slapper
a-
upside the head.
It wasn't a thought to run through the house to avoid
Mid-stride.
something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And then my dad would tie my shoes together so I wouldn't be able to play for the rest of the day.
And I feel like these kids are relearning how to play outside. Like I was saying to my mom, like, how much fun do we let them have? Because I felt like I was being like, stop, shut up. Like because they're super annoying, but they're like yelling and screaming and making weird noises. So when you hear screaming outside,
Right.
you think, oh no, or is everybody okay?
Yeah.
But no, they just got scared because they were going around a corner and the person who
Yeah.
was trying to tag them came and they were like, ah, and then ran.
Right.
But we're not used to them playing outside without us.
It's a beautiful thing.
So it's just like, what the hell's going on? Like,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
needs to stop screaming unless there's an emergency.
That's fair.
But they are like living their best, like, version of our lives that we had in those summer days,
true.
just outside playing. And I'm like, I said to my wife, I think it's because I wasn't within earshot of my parents. So then their nerves weren't on edge. Because in my neighborhood, we kind of had like this safe bubble that you could just like go around anywhere within there. And our kids are finally getting to that age where they're doing those things and we're not out there supervising every minute of it.
Right.
So, but you still have that parental like edge that you're feeling.
Yep.
And they don't know, like they know boundaries, but at the same time, it feels like the game outweighs any sense of like life
Oh, yeah.
preservation. Like I watched my son like avoid somebody and run out onto the road. We've got a very quiet road, but it's like, did he look both ways?
Hard no.
Did he sense if there was a car coming? Maybe. I mean, he's pretty agile. He might be able to dip and dodge a car,
Got good peripheral vision.
but he didn't want to get tagged.
That's it.
He's a Kenny. He's
You
a Kenny
worry
and he's
about
in
these
sport.
things. Yeah, he's in sport mode and he's just locked in.
That's it.
Yeah.
I've seen
man,
it
I
firsthand.
miss-
It's not pretty.
But are there
on.
less rules than we had growing up? Like I'm
Depends
trying to
whose
think
house
of
you're
like,
going
do
to.
I have like,
Yeah.
and I think it might just be because we're not very rule structured with that stuff and like disciplinary with things at all, I guess. But like it feels like sometimes our kids are just unleashed and like, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that'll come out in the wash.
I don't know.
Let's just say it's mostly a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine now because your house needs to be renovated. But I feel like the second you like put in new floors,
Yes.
he gonna learn real quick.
Not to
And
wear
by
shoes in the
that
house.
time, it's probably gonna be at your youngest. So she'll be the one that learns really quickly.
Because even like my daughter, like the talking back of like, oh, stop being ridiculous, Dad, or oh, you're like you stop worrying so much. And it's
Right.
like, oh,
I wouldn't even thought of saying something like that to my
back to your
parents.
parents. Yeah.
But we weren't spoken to the same way.
We're spoken to like humans.
Like dogs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Actual dogs.
sit, eat.
Yeah. Shut up. Don't
Stop
talk
crying.
back. Sit in that
life.
corner.
Yeah.
Anyways. I'll
Yeah,
stop.
so the second time he went to go running, because that was
Did he
from
take
the
his
back.
shoes off?
No, that was
Wow.
from the backyard to the front door.
Okay.
And then the second time was through the garage door to the front door. And I was like, I stopped him, like, what are you doing? Like, I already told you, stop doing this. And it's just like, what? What? Like, stop what? And like, you fucking idiot. I just want like the
you like
Homer
Dick Dad?
Simpson. Yeah. The
I
Homer
never
Simpsons
think
triangle.
I never think we're too carefree about it until we have people over, and I see the way they tense up when my kids run out the door.
Right.
And I'm like, what's like? They're like, are you okay with them going out there? I'm like, yeah. Like they do that all the time.
That's
But
outside.
I think
Yeah.
that's almost it, because like if they're doing crazy shit inside your house, it's just within your house. But when they go outside, it's like now the whole neighborhood can hear my kids, and I
Yeah.
think I worry about being judged by the neighbors by hearing my kids, or like are my kids being too annoying for the neighborhood or something like that.
Right.
But then I also don't want to like downplay the fun that they're having, because
yeah.
they're like having so much fun,
Yeah,
and they're
right.
outside and they're running and enjoying life.
The
and I
grumpy neighbors,
probably
they'll get over it.
right.
Or they won't, and that's their problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a no screaming thing. Like that is my big one,
Right,
just
yeah.
because of that
Emergency.
emergency. Like that needs to be reserved for an emergency.
Mine
in
is
my
mine
opinion,
is
because-
it's a trigger. Like I don't know what it is, but like loud noises
right.
makes my fucking nipples hard and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I want to punch somebody.
Yeah.
And my daughter screeches and I'm just like, okay, I can't do that. We're not gonna do that.
It just raises the tension levels. And
So fast.
our neighbor's son is like very screechy.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even like when they're playing video games, you can hear it, and you're just like, why?
I know.
Why? Somebody needs to tell this kid to shut up.
But that's our job.
Like
I'm not okay with that.
change the sound that you're doing. Like just grunt, maybe. I don't know. Like
Switch it up.
just let's try something
Think-
new.
I totally get it now. Like my mom used to say, like my nerves can't handle it.
Yes,
Right. And, like,
absolutely.
I'm like,
nerves.
I totally get it now.
100%.
I 100% appreciate the respect of the nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to say those words to my kid because I don't want to sound like my parents.
Exactly.
So I close my eyes when it happens and I like
Yes.
twirl my lip and then I let Robin I hold that pose until Robin sees it and then she's like, hey, let's not yell. I'm like, how does it not bother you? She's like, no, it doesn't. Turn the corner. Ah! And then she does the same like twitchy thing. I'm like, fucking does bother you.
Yeah, you're just better at hiding it than I am.
Exactly.
I have a problem, like even if they're just crying, but they're like screaming really loud. I'm like you can cry,
Yeah.
but like
Yes.
that's too much.
Yeah.
like
We're not gonna
we're
yell
all
about it.
living in this tight space together. Like you need to tone it down.
I've been trying to teach my daughter to breathe through the pain.
Yeah.
Too, because I'm like, I understand that you're
she gets
hurt.
hurt.
Yeah, like when she hurt herself, and then it's this like wail, like her leg is broken.
Oh, yeah, my
And
daughter
you
does
go
that
out
too.
and you're like absolutely fine. It's like, okay, you need to come down now and let's breathe. Like, you got to breathe through it. You don't have to scream and yell through it. You got to breathe through it.
Yeah.
I'm like, your mom birthed you and she wasn't screaming and crying. She was breathing. Like, it hurts, but you don't have to cry through hurt.
Dude, I set up the trampoline yesterday.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, come play. You're allowed to be on this trampoline. So like the whole family at one point was on the trampoline. And like the Kenny sport mode kicked in for me because I was kicking all of their asses at this basketball.
Nice.
Because it has a basketball net on.
Oh yeah, light them up.
I was like, I push Robin over, push my son over, push Aubrey. And my daughter falls down. She's like, he twisted my ankle. I can't walk. Like, I'm about to double bounce you into the forest if you don't get up. But yeah, she was milking all sorts of these injuries. I'm like, I don't want to play with you. Like, you're not fun to be around. You're just going to sigh over everything. Like, God.
That's what I mean.
Just keep going.
Sometimes the like toughen up mentality, is it okay to be like, get over it and let's move on?
I don't know.
Or every little bump and scrape or itch, you're a crier, you gotta be like, oh, it's okay, baby girl. You can walk through this. It's like, no, get over it, get up and let's go.
Robin was like, you're being too rough. I'm like, am I? Am I being too rough on our trampoline where no one's going to get hurt? There's not a spring anywhere. There's nets all around. Back in my day, we didn't even have nets on trampolines.
And we almost broke our legs many times. Almost.
That's what I learned what a femur was.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there is a certain amount of like, not toughen up, but like that type of mental. I definitely
why not
carry
toughen
that.
up? Is it a
maybe
bad
toughen
thing
up.
to be toughened up? Like, is it a bad thing?
I think there's
affect
a
you?
healthy way and an unhealthy way.
It's
for
not
sure.
cool anymore.
What is a unhealthy and a healthy way?
To ignore any kind of emotional response, to just say toughen up, you don't need to have that at all.
Right.
I think to be able to be okay if you are actually hurt, to emote. But I definitely carry that into my parenting of like, especially if I'm with the kids doing something like on the trampoline or playing with them and you can see what happened
Exactly.
isn't big.
Yeah.
You see it's just a smack or you see it's just this and you know that they're doing the big overreaction just to grab that attention.
Right.
I give them that. I see you. I see that you're hurt. You have my attention. It's not that bad.
Now catch this
I'm
pass.
gonna exactly. I'm carrying. It's redirection, right? Like,
Exactly. That's
which again, I think there needs to be like a little lesson in there somewhere, so it's not just constantly redirecting and ignoring the big emotions that are popping up. But yeah, I definitely have that with both kids. I try to be equal with both of them. Of like, yeah, figure it out. You're fine.
I'm sure for me it'll change like when they get a little older. But right now it's just like a quick console, little cuddle,
Right.
and then let's get back to it.
See, for me, it's hard because they're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And my son, I can beat up more than my daughter.
Yep.
And she whines a lot. So like I don't like to wrestle with her.
Yep.
But I think she thinks that I only like to play if we're wrestling because I wrestle my son a lot.
Right.
So she's like, let's wrestle. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this because you're just going to cry the second I grab you. She's
Choke slam.
I do. I pick her up and spin her around. And then she's like, you threw me down too hard. And I was like, where's your brother?
You're lame.
Like I love doing things with her, just not wrestling.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's just
fair.
not it. So like we have to. Yeah, we
You
have
don't
to
connect
Yeah.
in that way.
Meg started one that she got from some TikTok, I'm sure. But it was when they come to you and you didn't see what happened, just hold them. Like if that's what they're coming for an embrace. She's like, don't say anything. You just hold them. Don't be the one to talk first.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's tried it a few times with Coop where it's like, she'll be like, oh, what happened? What's wrong? What's
Yeah.
hurting? What's it? Just hold them. He cried for a little bit. I looked up at her. You good? Yep.
Then
Back
they
down to
start
play.
wiggling to get out of your hole.
Exactly. Back on the play. It's like
That
we
works.
often want to fix it, right? We want to figure out what happened, what's hurting, what do you need, what's it? Sometimes all they actually need is just a little hug, and then
Exactly.
back on their way.
But what if your identity is built on fixing things for other people?
Yeah,
You just can't be yourself.
that's
Okay.
it.
Because part of the toughen up conversation stirred up because I was chatting with a good friend, Brent Walker.
Yep.
And
Number
he
one
brought up a podcast that he had listened to that was talking about the dating scene right now and how it's in a very awkward turmoil and that men,
Wait, what? Isn't he happily married?
yes, but it was more,
He didn't actually listen to the
Why is he
podcast.
listening?
We just know.
Dave, listen to this podcast.
This is probably a clip.
it was more about like the fact that women are wanting more masculine founded men than emotionally. So it's that
I don't think they do.
what they say they want versus what they actually want are differing.
Yeah.
And that with the online dating community and stuff like this. So I listened to this because it was an interesting podcast
Why are
because
you two happily married men listening to a
because I think that
podcast
it has
about-
to do with how people are being raised in the generations that are coming up, right? So if there was a generation that was very much raised in more of a woke mentality or more of a emotional supportive and needing to be very
Coddled.
aware and how that's playing out now is what we're starting to see in that world, where women might say that they want that, but they actually still want somebody who is chopping wood or something like that. Like they still want a rugged,
I think they like the
ruggedness
idea.
of things. I don't know.
I love that you use that to describe manliness. Chopping
Because
wood.
there still are the primal instincts of what you want in a companion as far as like somebody that's able to protect you, like what a woman's looking for versus what a man's looking for are still very primal things that we look for. And I think about it like tracking down to we all have sons that we are raising, and how do you raise them to be emotionally aware, supportive, but also strong, protector, supporter, provider, all of the things.
You wrestle them.
Honestly, that is part of it. Apparently,
It's interesting because my son's thing, it's like a, whenever there is his icebreaker, like whenever there's a silence or like just random, he comes up to his mom and says, "Mom, do you love me?" And it took Robin a long time for her to like figure it out, because she was like, this kid, like, do we not show him love?
right.
But he just loves us so much that he loves to hear that we love him back. So he just loves to hear it. So he literally, we were at a birthday party and he came up about 12 times. I was like, "Mom, do you love me?" And then everybody's like, "That's so cute." And Rob's like, "Right. I used to think I was a failure, and now I kind of like low key love it." But in the same sentence, he'll literally double tap his elbow and jump from the top ropes to like lay you the fuck out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think
love.
that it's balance, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's what that looks like, right? I think the thing that our generation has wrestled with is how past generations have looked at that. Creating a masculine man used to mean denying all those emotional side. It was, you need to be tough, so you need to ignore all the emotions that aren't to do with toughness. You're allowed to be angry or fine. Those are the two things you are allowed to be as a man, and that will make you tough.
Also, I think the identity of a quote unquote tough man meant disrespecting other people, whether it was lesser tough males or females. Like to be an alpha, you had to almost be a dickhead. And I think now, like in our kind of era now in parenting, we just don't idolize certain things like that. Like there aren't any Chuck Norrises or like Steven Seagals walking around anymore, who our parents used to like love these movies because they were like the alphas. Whereas now we're just kind of like, bro, I don't care. Like, cool, you can snap a dude's neck. You've done it in 12 movies now.
Yeah.
Let's Peter Pan this thing and move on.
I feel like it might depend on what social media like world you're in tapped into though, because I think it's still out there.
Yeah.
Oh, the algo?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I've come across a lot of that shit online.
So that's what this was saying, is like in the podcast they had kind of looped around to the fact that because a lot of men aren't succeeding in dating apps and stuff, and they're finding themselves more lonely, but then isolating and moving to porn and other things to satiate that. But then they're getting angry and upset, and then they're looking to like the Andrew Tates of the world, and that are empowering them and giving them like a meaning and like justifying their anger and saying whose fault it is and stuff. And then that's kind of perpetuating the problem. So it's a lack, and that's where I wonder, is it that there are a lack of strong, emotionally supportive but masculine men? Like, has the definition of a masculine man changed? Has it changed enough that it is understandable, or is it still like the Andrew Tate is considered masculine and somebody else is considered.
I don't think the Andrew Tate is considered quote unquote masculine. I think there's different definitions of it, but I do think that the demasculating initiative that kind of kicked in, where like the whole anti-male movement moved into play, like that has very much, I don't want to say ruined, but like hindered a large group of individuals, because it has almost made it like, if you want to be a provider, if you want to be a protector, basically, if you're not a feminist, then you're a bad person, is how they've kind of built this platform up. And there isn't, you're not allowed to like have an opinion now that isn't liberal anymore.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's because things became very polarized.
Totally.
That it kind of classified people in certain groups where you can't dabble in things almost, where it's like, if you touch that, then that means you're all the way over there on this side now all of a sudden.
And I think a lot of it is, most people, because it was so polarizing one way, a lot of people grouped women to be like, to feel like we need to save them again, or like we need to be an advocate for them and support them, where I think a lot of people had their opinion. They were entitled to speak their opinion, just as long as it's not morally wrong or whatever, then you just let it be. We didn't need to give it these different platforms and have them have the power of authority over things and develop these cult like whatever.
Right.
Like Robin agrees with a lot of stuff that Andrew Tate says, and she brings it to me, and I'm just like, he sounds like a douche.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She's like, well, he has a good point. I'm like, he may have a good point. Still sounds like a douche.
Not
also
changing
criminal.
the douchiness. Yeah. Just straight
like,
up criminal.
Even all of that
Trafficking
stuff,
humans,
like, I mean,
frowned upon.
yeah.
Let's not talk about him. He's got enough
Yeah.
name.
I don't need to give him any airwaves.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that concept interesting, and I would say that I find myself in a good medium spot. And I think what I had kind of come to while listening to this is that, like, to continue being who I am.
Totally.
Because I'm the same person that will go shoot guns or something like that and be like, and then come home and cry watching like The Voice or something like that. Where it's like, I think you can have both aspects, but sometimes I feel like guilty about wanting to make my son, I don't know, not make my son masculine. That sounds bad, but like encourage.
But why does it sound bad?
I don't know exactly. Yeah, but like encourage those aspects of life for him, if that makes sense.
I think the word masculine is the problem. Exactly. The word masculine is the problem. Just because they like engines and sort of like what we were brought up to be like masculine things doesn't mean that it's like more quote unquote more manly or different, different things like that. I just think that it's like whatever their interests are is what their interests are. And if it's dolls, then let it be dolls. If it's, do you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And that's kind of where I was going with this, was like, we are all people and we all have different interests and it doesn't make us better, same, or worse than everybody. We need people that are willing to put their life on the line to protect us. We need those heroes because war is very real, and we need people that are willing to step up and be police officers and all those things to help. But we also need people that are willing to deliver babies and to do things. There shouldn't be this moral thing of like, the word masculine shouldn't be a curse word. Yeah. It's just my opinion. And that's not to say that I don't love females, and I'm a huge advocate for equality and females equality.
Right.
But and I will 100% fight tooth or nail to make sure that they feel supported and aligned, and they need to be treated properly. But that's like human all the way through. I don't care.
Rights.
Yes. I don't care if you're black, white, male, or female. It's like, it should be equal all the way across is how I feel. But to say things like, I want my son to be more masculine, and to have guilt with that is sad, because you can, but then you can say things that you want your female, like your daughter, to be more feminine, and it's adorable and it's cute and there's nothing wrong with that. Now we're going to the other side. So where's the tip? Like, where's the Taylor? Just because tipping point.
Tip Top Taylor.
I'm saying just because it was so one-sided for our forever, to flip it now to go to the other way doesn't make it right or wrong. And we weren't a part of the problem back then. We can be a part of the solution or moving towards the solution, but we don't have to scale it all the way to the one side to make it quote unquote right.
And I feel sometimes like we're on a pendulum that's swinging back and forth, right? And you're trying to land something in the middle, where it's like there was a very long time where women didn't have rights and weren't respected, and then it swings very heavily. We need to make sure that they have all these things, but then can it swing too far one way, where all of a sudden you've not given women, but they've gotten a lot more opportunity and taken some of the roles away from men, perhaps? And are we trying to find a balance point in between?
The fact that
we've gotten to that point.
No, and the fact that they are fighting for the ability to make a choice right now in one of the biggest countries is absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. Like, they should have the right to be able to do whatever it is that they want to do. And the fact that it's even a topic of conversation, a big one in 2015 when we were already past it, is disgusting for me. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But again, at the same point in time, I also believe, if I'm being totally honest, the worst thing that we did was made it so that we had to have 2 household incomes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it should be a choice. If a female wanted to go and work, then that's what they should be able to do. And just dads should be able to stay home and vice versa. It shouldn't have been like, oh, women want to work now. Now we're going to make it so that both, and then, you know what I'm saying?
Increase the cost of everything so that everybody has to work.
It's just,
Now
the
we
cost.
get all that tax money.
It's the cost. It's the family time. It's like, it's all of those things that are like factoring in, but you can't say that like the worst thing that they did was let women go to work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like especially as a white male, you can't do that.
I mean, I
publicly.
think there's a better way to say it.
Absolutely.
Get the point across.
Because even with like gender roles, is it okay still? Like, it feels like it's not okay to talk about stuff like that.
It's just touchy to talk about. And again,
But why does it have to be touchy to talk about?
I think it's touchy to talk about because we're middle-aged white men. And like, it is just a touchy thing to talk about because you don't feel like you're going to offend somebody even by touching something that could be considered on that toxic masculinity
already
side.
I've been afraid of a lot of what I've said, where I'm just trying to bring up conversation
100%.
and I'm like, someone's gonna be pissed off with what I said. I'm like, I'm
This
just
whole
trying to
show is a walking red flag for me. Every time we record something and I drive home in fear and I'm like, I'm never going to be allowed out in public again.
You're both doing pretty well.
But I thought it's an
This
interesting
is where like
conversation.
really thinking through what you got to say is really beneficial.
It's because there's no freedom of speech anymore. Every single the internet is forever, so everyone can take what we say and misconstrue it and turn it into anything to be conceived one way or to be perceived one way or another.
You can still say what you want.
That was one thing.
Can you? I don't think you're allowed to.
I think who's stopping you from saying whatever you want right now?
A lot of people.
No.
a lot of people
things-
can get mad at you for
Yeah.
saying what you want, but
You're gonna
if
get
you're
heat
okay
for
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
But also that has to exist, right? Like there has to be this ability to check people too, though, right? Like that's why I think there still is freedom of speech, but I think there is just a lot more people that are now available to check people, like the Andrew Tates of the world.
The jury is a lot bigger.
Who now are like, yeah, I'm going to say exactly what the fuck I think. And then all of a sudden now you have a couple million people being like, that's fucked up. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have that. Or you just dig your own grave the way he did.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with your point. I do think there is a ebbs and flows of the world. And sometimes people can be a little oversensitive. That can happen the same way people can be not sensitive at all and just not care what they say about people. Dave and I, or was that me and you, Brett? I don't know. I talked about this with somebody recently with comedy, because comedy is one of those areas that's not supposed to have the same rules around being able to say and joke about and talk about anything. but there also still is a right and a wrong way to say something, in my opinion. I think there are comedians who take it too far, who say their comedy shouldn't have these boundaries. I should be able to joke about whatever I want, but then the way it delivers doesn't deliver it as a joke. The way it delivers is as something that is just disrespecting a group of people,
Pete
which
Davidson.
is different. I think he does a pretty good job of walking the line, to be honest, in my opinion. I think it's more the like Bill Burr, I think, takes it too far.
But he's a piece of shit, though.
He is, and I agree. That is my assessment of him as well. But I think he's a fabulous comedian in a lot of ways. A lot of his jokes I think are hilarious. But I think sometimes
he's
he will
angry, bald, and loud.
I think he'll intentionally
Chris
disrespect
Farley.
a group of people. I love Chris Farley.
No, Chris Farley wasn't funny. He was fat, loud, and he said like crude humor things.
He was
Not
laugh
funny.
at me, not
Different kind of funny.
not an intelligent comedian. But anywho's, that being said, I'm not saying that I disagree with the fact that free speech it's just a weird thing now, because I think you have a lot of people with very large voices that just say whatever the fuck they want, and I think that's different than
There's a
how
lot of,
So
there's
here's
a lot
the
of
thing.
soapboxes you can stand on now and just deliver your message to people too.
I'm going
right?
to be very controversial, but this is me just being honest. Okay, I just finished a project, right? I'm going to vote conservative in this election, which will get me in trouble from a lot of different people. Had I said that in a group of people with a project that I just finished, my head would have been on a spike, because they make it seem like it's like the worst thing
Right.
that you can do, because I've made an opinion on the research that I've done.
Right.
And I have an opinion. I have voted liberal before and I voted conservative before.
Right.
So I'm not one way all the way to the edge. I just do my research, align it in to what I think needs to be done right now. That type of logic doesn't exist anymore outside of these walls. And I don't feel safe
right.
anywhere
Right.
being able to say that out loud, even though that I just said it to whomever. And there's people that are clenching their fists, holding their steering wheels, being like, really? Whoa, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there's also a level of the American politics spilling into
the Trumpification of
Canadian,
this.
where it feels like if you're voting conservative in a Canadian election that you're voting for Trump. But it's not the same thing anymore. Like we aren't the same as them.
But when it's like, we live in a very conservative town, and when my kids are like brought, that's where I have a problem. It's not red versus blue, and it's not, whatever. It's just, it's people, like, there's nothing I hate more than seeing like a fuck Trudeau sticker or like something along those lines, because that's hate, and hate has no place for change or making change.
Right.
It's just, and there isn't a reason for you to hate somebody that you've never met. That's a topic for another day.
Right.
When you try to influence my kids with that stuff, that's where I have a really big problem. Because I think that your beliefs should be your beliefs, and they need to be developed through your own experiences and research, and respected if they're not the same as the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you should be able to have a dialogue, right? But it should be based on that. Your dialogue should be based on the research that you've done and your opinion on your research, and then you can have a good conversation, right? Where the other side of what you're saying is like when you just have people that are headline reading and going off the propaganda. Now there's no basis for
They're not
dialogue or
actually doing
conversation.
any research.
Exactly.
Totally.
You're just throwing the shade back and forth that's been amplified.
And there's watching these TikTok videos and then spitting hot facts as if they're real when they're based off of one Andrew Tate video that they watched, and now that's their truth. And then all of a sudden it just snowballs into this hot pile of garbage. There's no reason why you can't think differently, feel differently, but still love each other for like who they are.
I think it's also because we live in a bit of like a clickbait world.
Totally.
Where even like news and media outlets are looking for views, and they're looking for clickbait, and they're asking questions to try to get the thing. They want to catch the politician saying something so that they can have this big article come up about it, or twist somebody's words to use it against them in a way that can make this like clickbait clip that they can get to go viral type thing. And they're very much like it. I hate that we kind of are polarizing with the States, and that like it's moving over where they're almost trying to treat this Canadian election similar to the States were, to the point where they asked Mark Carney, who's running as the Liberal leader in Canada, if he'll accept the results of the election. And he just laughed and was like, listen, guys, like, we're not the same as that. Like, yes, I will respect the results of the election. Like, we're not dealing with the same things that you dealt with there. Stop trying to use the clickbait media that you found worked over there and use it over here. It's not the same. We don't want it to be the same thing, because I find our politics, at least in Canada, aren't as heavily skewed side to side. I find that we're a little closer to the line, and it feels like people are trying to push those two parties further and further apart from each other.
But I think the parties do that too, though, right? Like, that's part of the problem.
Because you got to differentiate.
Exactly. And that's like the whole slam ads where it's like they rip the other person apart. Like, how many times have both parties, the central message of any one of their rallies has been just to tear down the other party and show those differences, right? And it's the difficult thing that they're always going to walk in politics, because you have to separate yourself from your opponents. You have to highlight all the things that you think are terrible about them. But now the messaging that you're throwing out to the public is just all these big differences and the polarization between the parties, where that's where you have our generation of just straight confusion, it feels like, because you're getting both messages. And we've talked about that before with politics, like trying to interact with different posts so that you can get a variety. But even when you're getting that variety, now you're just that much more confused, because you're seeing one post that's saying that this person believes in that and this party's going to do this, but then the next post is how they're going and are doing the exact opposite. So it's like, okay, there's
who do I believe here?
The disinformation and misinformation.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to get too passionate here. This is to be the only thing that I say about the subject. We went 9 years with gas prices going absolutely crazy. Then all of a sudden we get a brand new prime minister who's part of the same party, and then they just boop, with a flip of a stroke of a pen, they get rid of the carbon tax, which means you could have got rid of this carbon tax this whole entire time, but now you decide to do it because you need us to get your votes back, to bring your party back into power, which means the price of gas is now like literally saved some families for the extent of their bills and stuff like that. And you were just able this whole entire time cut it like it was nothing.
The price of oil did also plummet during this most recent.
It's plummeted how many times over the last 9 years? Yeah. There was a time in 2021 where it was down to like $64 a barrel, and it was still, the gas prices were still up to like $1.50, whatever.
Right. Also, we've reached this level of dadding, just so you know.
So that's what,
because I never thought that this would be like in my vocabulary to be researching politics and stuff.
But that's not a new thing. I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying, like, every party does stuff like that when they're trying to win an election
time. Yeah, the things that could have been changed during the whole term get changed at the very end.
When do you...
Doug Ford promised that he'd make $1 a beer happen.
Buck a beer, baby.
I feel like he did, but I haven't seen those anyways.
No one's drinking that beer.
No, I remember that
beer. Be honest, if you see Buck a beer, you're not picking that off the shelf.
I remember Buck a beer, and I didn't want any part of it. I paid for the expensive stuff.
You're 19 years old. That's what you're picking.
Yeah. Swamp water.
Do you bring up politics to your kids?
No.
Not really. We haven't talked about it. I've heard
yet.
my son make some comments, and I think it's because he has heard his friends comment, which are making comments based on what they're hearing from their parents. So my kids have asked some questions, and like we had our local Oshawa NDP representative knocked on our door, and my daughter answered the door, and so my wife and I came to the door, and we had this great conversation with this lady, and my daughter was standing there the whole time watching and listening, and they're like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Remember the signs you've seen? Like, that's who that is."
Yeah.
Right.
And it was really cool to be able to put a face to for her to try to understand what it actually means and stuff. So I think as much as they're overseeing and overhearing us talk about, because my wife and I are having conversations about it, they're not necessarily interested in it, but it's not something that we're hiding from them.
We like the closest we get to political conversations is like human rights type stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll talk about those things. We talk about like we have books at home that like talk about segregation and stuff like that. So like we go back and talk about those types of things. But in terms of like current politics, it's like maybe like stuff to do with like women's rights in the States
Yeah.
might come up a little bit like here and there with Leo, our oldest, mainly.
Yeah.
But that's about it. We don't really get into much else.
I mean, our kids are pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember being in the back of your van, and that's where it really kind of sparked it for me. We took this test of like,
Oh, yeah.
like what party do you lean more towards? And ever since then, it's really been like at the forefront of my mind. My grandmother was really big into politics, and so like that's where she like kind of skewed a lot of my things. Like when I voted in the past, I was just like, Nana, who are we voting for?
Right.
Yeah.
Who do you want me to vote for?
Yeah.
But I didn't really start forming my own opinions or doing my own research until we had that conversation, however many years ago that was.
Yeah. Well, because I think things start to affect your life a little bit more too.
Do they though?
In just like for us specifically, like with Joey's
Economically?
youngest brother,
yeah.
who's very high needs, special needs,
Yeah.
and there isn't a lot of help for that.
Yeah.
There is a lot of funding, but it's really hard to actually figure out and know how to get that funding. There's not a lot of housing for it. So it's like we're starting to see certain needs, and even for elderly, like we were talking about our dads and them getting sick and going through things, like there's a lot of things that now are current issues for us. And it was like, I wonder which party like does advocate for special needs or does advocate for the elderly in care or wants to add more housing and care for them. So I think it's like as things come up in your life and how it relates to that. But we had a conversation a little while back about that, where it's you can focus a lot on what you need and what affects your life and vote that way. But then there also is the more broad scheme of things of what is more beneficial for everybody or certain classes of people or certain needs of people, right? So I think there's different aspects that start to materialize that do start to give you a bit more of an opinion or make you care a little bit more possibly.
Absolutely. As you get older, right, your whole ecosystem grows, right? The amount of people that you care about and love and are a part of your life changes, right? And that would change your view on how you think the country should be run or the state of it, right?
But I think what Mark said earlier is hitting me. And I don't think this way.
I didn't mean for it to be a weapon.
I don't think of it this way because if somebody told me that they vote conservative, somebody tells me they vote liberal, that doesn't affect how I think about that person. But Mark saying that could literally have, he could have 10 extra fans tomorrow and he could have 20 extra people that hate him for that.
Right.
There are a lot of people who are very polarizing on whether or not you can be in their life based on how you vote and whether or not, I don't think that that's okay personally.
We're going through it with our family right now. There's like a huge division right now between the liberal side and the conservative side. And that's why I'm saying like it's the only people that really feel like I can have a conversation with. And it's like I've taken an interest to it. So it's something that I want to be able to talk about.
Right.
And I want to be able to not only talk about my side or my research being correct, but just the fact like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Where do we lie on this? Where do you think that? And Robin's dad's the only person that I can like talk to and have those conversations where he'll fact check things and he does the research on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't really agree with something, then he will admit that that's not right, or this is, you know what I'm saying? And there's comfort there, but there's some really like nasty things that these smear campaigns are doing that just makes you like, okay, well, I guess I can't, because it's either really, really far this way or really, really far that way. And there's nothing really in the middle. And you almost feel like if you say anything that goes against that kind of norm, then you're this like super villain, when that's not the case at all.
Well, and we have a large aspect of our listeners that are American. And I think that
Over
they might,
half.
Yeah, and I think they might, it'd be interesting to hear from them, but like they probably experience this even more. in that, like, if somebody wanted to vote for Trump, then how other people would think of them, or if somebody was voting for Kamala, how other people would think of them. Like, who you are supporting affects so much of your life sometimes, which I don't think it should, because as much as it pains me to say, I don't think our votes matter that much.
I don't think so either.
Because it's just one number out of a huge sea of people that are voting. So you could be the most gung-ho liberal in your area and vote for them, and they lose still by 10,000 votes or something like that. But you're holding on to this like identity of who you are. And it's like, but why? Like, what you did didn't matter or affect. Like, unless you're that gung-ho that you're out there door knocking for them and you're out there sharing flyers and like promoting your campaigning with them because you support them that much. But I think there's so many people that want to just sit on their chair, sit on their couch and talk about what they want to talk about. Like, they want to be the most conservative person out there from their couch and not actually make an impact in the country, not actually like run or get involved into politics. They just want to have something that they can be passionate about, which makes me wonder of like, do we not have enough things in our life because we have more comforts? You don't have something to fight for as a man or something like that, that you feel now that this is your soapbox that you need to make a stand on, that like, this is the war we need to fight right now. Right. It's just, like, or you could just go play basketball with your friends and get that like adrenaline out of your system, and then you'll be good tomorrow and not need to like berate somebody because of their political view.
Right. But that's just it. Is like, you're like I can only use my own thing. I'm not going to say like speak on like the American side of things, but just because I say I'm going to vote conservative this time, what kind of sparked this whole thing within our like little family thing was like, oh, like you don't support trans people. I'm like, I never once said that.
Right.
That's like, it just because you're doing this one thing doesn't mean that like everything else, like you hate on all this stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I think everybody deserves the same rights and values. That's like, human rights is the most important thing to me. Everyone deserves the right to live a happy, healthy life. That's plain and simple. Just because I said one thing doesn't mean that I believe all these other different things. And that's where my like, I have a hard time having these conversations with people, because people tend to get so passionate and built up over this shit that they're not even a part of it. Like, are you a political party that supports, or sorry, are you one of the party members that supports them financially? No, you're not even registered as a liberal. Right. So why are you coming at me right now, who's not registered as a conservative either, but just has an opinion based on the research that I've done?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all that it is. And it's something that I've struggled with a lot, especially in this election, because I believe that we need change, and I believe that voting is very important for me. Whereas I wouldn't have prioritized it very much, but we're starting to have those kind of conversations between Robin and I. And if the kids overhear us, I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to know how to have those conversations without influencing their decision either. Because the last thing that I want them to think is like, oh, we have to vote for this and we have to, like, that's not the case. They're more than welcome to form their own opinions and have their own thought processes. And I want to encourage that form of freedom too, because that's what a democracy is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as long as you're not making it your identity, then it's not something that your kids are going to be like seeing and latching
in that way. That's a good way
of putting it. Yeah.
Well, and not physically doing that. Like, I had this similar conversation with my mom over lunch where we got into politics a bit, and I was telling her, because I'll be likely voting liberal in this election. Yeah. And she was like, man, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know if I didn't vote conservative, your grandmother would roll over in her grave. was like, so she's dead.
Yeah.
And she's still very much affecting how you will alive
Right.
vote for your
How you
current
will
government.
alive vote.
Like, that's so twisted, right?
That
Like,
is-
this
that's
is a
what it
person
is.
who's no longer on this planet, and they're affecting how you're going to vote for your government that runs your life. Like,
That's what it is.
Ass backwards, right? And that is the polarization of, if you're on that side, you shouldn't even be in the country. Like, this is a completely different government than your government 10 years ago, even, right? Like, talking to older generations where I think a lot of this started, where it was very this side or this side. Like, these are different humans.
I remember having a conversation with my grandmother, God rest her soul. I like, for those of you who don't know, I spend a crazy amount of time with this lady. We would have dinner together and she would say, I'm not going to vote or tell you who to vote for, but if it's not red, you might as well be dead.
That's haunting.
Kind of joking, but not really.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you get out of the booth and you walk up and she's like, did you win your vote?
You're never going to know, Grams.
I'm like, what one are we voting for? The red one? Yep, I did.
I think for me, like, I've tried, because I get really fired up about certain things. So, like, for a long time, I would get really fired up about, like, political stuff I'm seeing in my algorithm. But, like, for me, I'm just trying to understand that, like, we're all kind of a victim of our algorithms
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah.
So, like, it makes it easier for me to just be like, at the end of the day, I know who you are. I know who you are. Like,
Right.
I know you guys.
Yeah.
How you vote doesn't really change that. I might have more questions for someone based on how they vote, but, like, it doesn't change how I feel about you.
Right.
And I'm not going to allow it to. So, but like, I think you can have good conversations with someone who isn't voting the same way as you, and say, like, if something to do with human rights is, like, the reason why you're voting liberal for, like, let's just say, and someone you love is voting opposite of you, like, just have the conversation. Like, if this happens, are you going to go join the fight with me and, like,
Right.
fight back against, like, taking human rights away from certain people? Because that's what I need to know. Like,
Right.
Like, that's how we're going to be cool.
That's the character part of it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Because that's what I really care about. So it's like those, you can have, we've talked about it a lot, but, like, you need to be able to have those conversations.
Yes,
absolutely.
And for it not to destroy relationships.
100%. And I think the key component there is the ability to have the conversation and going into it knowing that there really isn't a right or wrong. Like, there isn't this isn't a yes or no type of conversation. It's opinion based, and the beauty about it is the respect that I have for the three of you in this room is deeper than some sort of opinion that I've developed over the last couple of years.
Right.
That very well can change
Right.
in the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, and even the way that our politics here in Canada are put together, we very much have a 3-party system. And if one party, it's been rare for one party to get a majority of the House.
Government, yeah.
So they very much have to work in cooperation with the other governments.
Yeah.
There's been an aspect to that which I appreciate about our country. But one funny thing that I was going to say, because we're talking about how do we talk about it with our kids, and I was driving to get dinner with my oldest and middle child, so 12 and 10, and they see all the signs out on the road now, and I was like, all right, fun question. Like, who do you think has the best name? Like, if you're voting based on name, who are you voting for?
Which color do you
Let's
like?
judge them based on name alone.
No, don't
it was
teach people how to
hilarious.
vote like that.
I mean, if you're taking that advice,
The next generation.
don't go to the polls.
God.
But it's kind of like deciding which co-author group home hardware you're going to
It's
go to.
hard.
You look
It's
at the
hard.
names. You got Bridge North, Cobeconk, Lakefield, Lindsay, Millbrook. You got options.
Yeah.
And which name
I
do you
bet
like
you
the
all
best?
those towns are conservative. Just
Probably. Rural Ontario. It'll get you. But thank you, Korth Group Home Hardware. We are not involving you in a political conversation. So all we'll say is thank
that was the
you.
last time they ever sponsored our podcast. Dum-dums.
And Regal Ideas made in China.
So is everything else.
I just like stir in the pot.
Delete that. Delete that. Made in Canada. It's made in Canada.
company.
It literally says that's one of their most proud things that they advocate for. Not
Canadian
China.
made, not
Yes.
made in Canada, because they own the factory.
Okay. I don't think there's any saving this.
No, it's okay.
Shelf this episode.
Well.